All right, everyone. So we're talking about advocacy. And I know that we discussed a lot of our rights the last time that we were here. So we'll just do a quick recap. Some of our rights are being able to seek out our own medical providers. So you get to pick your own doctors, who you want to see, medical advice, your own place to live. You choose where you want to live, where you want to worship or spirituality. What are some other things that you think of, Ryan, as things that you can discuss for your rights?
Uh, oh,
What are some of the things that you do at Project Action? Y'all talk about what?
speak up and speak out.
Speak up and speak out.
Speak up and speak out. And we also talk about
What are you involved in now? The health program, right?
yeah, the health programs.
So that's when you go what? Visit your what?
That's when I go visit my doctor.
Mhm. So when
Um,
think of rights, simply put, it's just our rights are just rules that help make people equal.
yes.
So the need to agree amongst lots of people in order for a right to be established can be discussed and experiences can be recounted. So think about a couple of times when you had to use a right or advocate for yourself, which means speak up for yourself. So that way you could be equal with others.
Anything? Remember we went, you had your surgery? What did
Yeah.
you tell? You have to talk about it. Tell them about that.
Um.
And the doctor what?
Oh yeah. I remember. I remember when I had my surgery. What year was that?
Oh, I think 2018.
2018, something like
Yeah,
that.
I think so. And what did the
I had
doctor
my surgery, and the doctor said,
said to me?
no, the doctor said to my mother, what did he say?
Tell
Oh,
me
he
what?
said, he said,
Can you what?
can you sign for him? I said, no. I said, son, I can sign my own name.
Mhm.
He what? He apologized to you.
Yep.
He
I
apologized.
mean, but if you don't, if you don't if you don't keep up with these doctors, then they won't know what to do. You
Mhm.
see what I mean?
Exactly. And
Because, and I see some doctors, right? They say, "Oh, um, oh, can you can you do this or this or this?" I mean, it's okay and everything, but if you don't keep up with these doctors, then some of these doctors they they think they know what they're doing, but they don't.
yes, trust me, I know exactly what you're talking about. So when you think of like rights, do you think that only applies to people with any type of disability? Or do you think rights, who do you think
Well, it applies to everybody.
exactly? These are human rights. These are the rights of every single human being. So these aren't just for one group of people and not another group of people. Rights go across the board to everybody. And they can only be taken away in very special and rare circumstances, like if you can't care for yourself at all and somebody has to step in to help make those decisions. That's the only way they can be taken away. Simply having a disability or being different is not a good enough reason on its own to be denied a person rights. So I want you to think of a list of rules that you would like to see put in place to ensure equalness for people with and without disabilities. So everybody think of a little list in your head of what you'd like to see for rules put in place to help ensure equality for people with and without disabilities. You thinking hard? Jennifer, do you have a good list going already?
Any rules?
I have nothing.
What do you think? What do you think?
Ryan, do you have a good list going?
What do you think? What would be the first thing you put on your list? Is people must be what? One of the rules when you go, you want people to be what to you?
One of the rules when I go, I say be kind.
Be kind. Okay. I would say be respectful. That would be one of the things I want you to do.
Well,
What
to
about-
listen, right? To listen to what other people say.
Yeah.
That was going to be my next one.
Be courteous.
Be courteous. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Well, to treat others as you want to be treated, right? Isn't that sort of the golden rule?
Yes.
we always talk about that, right?
Mhm. All right, so let's talk about some of our list of rules that we'd like to see put in place so that everybody can be treated with the same equality. So we said obviously the golden rule, which I feel like should just be like a general rule of life. Just treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yes. Yes.
But when we think of rules, what type of like barriers could there be to making up a new rule?
Not everyone agrees.
Mhm. So what if one person thinks, treating others the way they want to be treated? What if somebody doesn't feel the best about themselves and aren't in a very good place and they don't treat other people very nicely because they don't treat themselves very well?
And I think you need to try to reach out to that person to see how you can help them, what resources you might be able. Once you find out what's going on with them, maybe you could help find out what resources can assist them to become more confident, feel better about themselves, and how to reach out kindly to other people once they can learn to feel good about themselves with good self-esteem.
Exactly. So when we speak of rights and rules, we also speak of responsibilities, things that go hand in hand with them. So it's just like everybody, of a certain age has a right to obtain a driver's license, but the responsibility of it is going to the classes, learning how to drive, and passing the test. So with all rules has responsibilities. What's one thing that you think of, Ryan?
That's like breaking the law.
It is.
If people don't respect the rules, people think they can just do what they want to do.
Absolutely. And obviously that's why, we have people who try to enforce the rules, such as our police officers. They try to enforce the rules and make areas safer.
And think about these school bus drivers. I can't think of nothing else.
Well, and then like the courts, right? The courts enforce rules, right? So like Ryan, right? You went to court because you wanted to have control over your own decision making.
Right.
Yeah,
That's true. And
that's true.
they provided what for you to help provide the rules. They gave you what? Who would come to the house to visit to enforce the court rules would be what?
Jonathan?
No, the court didn't give you Jonathan.
No,
That was Father Trust. It was they
lawyer.
appointed you a what? A lawyer. Yeah.
But
You make sure that we were what? And you were following the what?
the rule.
The rules of the courts for guardianship, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to see a rule, which is the right to be listened to without, especially in, say, the medical, like when you're at the doctor's. Sometimes I
Yep.
feel like when we're at our doctor's offices that your time constraints or maybe the insurance companies are dictating, what's allowed to be done and what's not. And sometimes I feel like the conversation can't just be free flowing. So the right to be listened to.
You
And
need,
sometimes with the time restraints, it doesn't allow you to have that time that's needed because they have to see a patient within a certain time frame. And then sometimes doctors do go over that, I've discovered, because I've had to wait a little later, a little longer than my appointment because the doctor actually took the time to listen to the patient prior to me
and
being seen.
they also, they think they have a window time,
But they do.
but, huh?
They do.
Yeah, they do, but
Yeah.
I know everybody has a window time, but how can I put this? This is not, they do. Everybody has a window time, but
You think it's such a change or?
I think it needs to change because the, sometimes they can give you a 30-minute window.
Yeah.
Just like Metro Access.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm just making a comparison.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about, so we came up with a few rules. Are there any other rules that we feel like, should be made to help make things equal?
Let's see.
I'm sure there are that we aren't thinking of.
I know there's probably millions and millions of new rules.
But the
Yeah.
rules can change,
Yeah,
Yes.
rules do change.
Yeah, they do change.
Yeah.
Well, and they should change, right? Because people change and times change, and
Yeah.
everything kind of goes in flow over a long period, right? Because before blacks and whites couldn't marry, right? That was a rule, and that was changed. Same-sex people couldn't marry, and that
Right.
changed.
And then couldn't vote, that changed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Blacks couldn't vote, right? Emancipate, and then slavery, right? So lots of things change over time.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And with the current violence, they're changing rules with that. And that's something with what's going on not far from our neighborhood, the Brightwood neighborhood, and just our council member was out there now asking for a 2-week cease in violence and with the guns. So you're right, there situations can causes rules to change.
Mhm, mhm.
So can
Well,
many.
sometimes, yeah, and sometimes we put rules in place that we didn't even think of before, right? Because something happens and we didn't even think that was something we needed to necessarily protect.
Absolutely. I mean, things are constantly changing, and when questions are asked or rules are asked to be followed, it's because something has occurred that has made that rule need to be implemented or made. So let's talk about developing some strategies to tackling some of these infringements on rights, some of these barriers on our rights. So I want you to ask yourself some questions about what rights do you feel are being limited to you as a person? So it means, what rights do you think you're not able to fully have? Whether it's
Well, I think kind of as a woman, sometimes don't you feel, I mean, I know Susie and Kim, but that you don't always feel safe, right? I was on the train the other day and this guy came, sat next to me, was very aggressive. And it's because I was a woman sitting by myself on an almost empty train. And he wouldn't have done that with a man. He just, because I was a woman, he did that. Even though, I'm a grown woman, I'm not I'm a young woman. You still get that sense of that men sometimes have this sense of entitlement to harass you because you are less.
Right. Especially sometimes it used to happen with the construction workers when
Mhm.
they're out working and females are walking by. But one that comes to my mind is the right over your body, the whole Supreme Court's
Yes.
change of the ruling when it
Mhm.
came to abortion. I think that's a big one that
Yep.
really affects you as a female, that
Mhm.
big change with not having to say so of your body as a female. Anything for you as a person with disability? Can you think of?
No, I can't think of that.
Oh, let's take your time. I know you always have a concern about transportation. You
Yeah.
have a right to that.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
And what concerns you with that is what? When they're not what?
But when they're not, what?
But what? When they're what?
But not providing good service?
Yeah. Sometimes they're what?
right?
If they're late, that makes you late,
Me late. Right.
and that affects your job, right?
Yeah.
Getting there on time.
Yeah, because I know Metro Access is good. Not the not Metro Access, but if I have my own car, don't you know? You know, I hope they get flying cars.
Oh, well, Jetsons, we're doing some
Yeah,
of the things the Jetsons are
because
saying now. That we saw.
if they do, y'all remember the Jetsons?
If
Mhm.
you-
Yes,
They're
yes.
too young. They're too young.
Oh,
I remember the Jetsons.
yeah,
No,
because remember, excuse me,
But if you
because
actually think about it, we are mirroring the Jetsons quite a bit since COVID.
yeah, because
Remote
if,
working, the Zoom
if
meetings.
yeah, because if you think about it, we can have all flying cars, and that way we won't have to drive, and that way we can meet up with each other.
Okay.
I'm serious.
I know you are.
You're a big futurist. You like to think of big things, Ryan. You're a big thinker.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I would also piggyback on the whole being a woman and different rights with a woman. So you think about when you were in school, there was a dress code for the women, especially when I was in school. You know, back when I was in school, that was when the gentlemen were wearing their pants down past their buttocks. So
Mhm.
you got to see like 10 inches of boxers, but a girl, you know, a girl couldn't wear cap sleeves or, you know, any type of tank top
Mhm.
or anything that bared your shoulders. Or if you wore shorts, it had to be so many inches, regardless of if, say, you know, as everybody has different body types. So, say you were really tall, I wouldn't know anything about that, obviously. But if you were really tall and say you have longer legs, what would pass on other people wouldn't pass on you. So then you wouldn't be able to wear shorts. And the whole reasoning behind that was because it was distracting to the male students.
And
So
God forbid you distract the male students.
well, I mean, that's, you know, that's one of those things that was just like, okay, so we're not teaching the males to behave appropriately. Instead, the women have to conform for them again.
I just saw something not too long ago on the internet where the guy and the young lady wore the same outfit, and the young lady was reprimanded, but not the young man. And they did it on purpose to show the double standards that they had. Like you're referring to when you were in school, it was okay for the guy to wear, but it wasn't okay for the young lady. Someone made comments to her, one of the instructors, but not the young man, and they had the exact same shorts and top on. So you're right, that's very true, the double standards. And that's in many things in this country, the double standards when it comes to male, female, even ethnic groups, how they're double standards. And it's an issue now with home appraisals. If a Black family is in the home and they appraise it at a lower price, but then they've had their white friend to come in and they appraise at a higher price. So that's something that I just saw that HUD now is looking into, that they're going to be focusing on, because it's happened to so many people in different states. So there are double standards a whole lot in this country with different, different things.
And let's think about, say, a person with some type of physical disability. So it snows outside. The first thing we want to do is clear sidewalks and stairways. But we don't worry about necessarily about our wheelchair ramps, access ramps. Those are one of the last things to be cleared. But if you had cleared the ramp first in lieu of the stairs, then everybody could utilize the ramp. So once again, you know, another strategy that infringes on our rights.
Yeah, I just noticed when it snows, I noticed that same when it snows here, that, you know, things will get cleared, but the like all this snow and sleet and stuff kind of gathers in that the depression thing, right? And you know, a lot of people who use that aren't just people in wheelchairs, but like people with kids in strollers. And so then they're also impacted in terms of that, because anyway, that's I always notice that one of my best friends is in a wheelchair, and I ever since she's been in a wheelchair, I just very notice when you can and cannot access things.
Because I like when it snows because it helps the virus.
Yeah.
It helps the no.
Yeah,
I like when it snows because it helps the virus to deteriorate.
you think so?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Ryan.
I like it when it snows when I don't have to do anything. But sit at home with a
Sit back and
nice
get
book
hot
and a blanket and watch.
chocolate.
But so, like, you think about those little tiny things that you just don't necessarily, I don't know if everybody sees those type of things, or maybe, everybody has their own opinion about something small that kind of infringes on their right to be equal to everybody else.
Mhm.
How about when we try to get a job? We have the ADA, which is the American Disabilities Act. But from a lot of employers, look at that as a hindrance to hiring people. So you have to advocate
But,
for yourself.
but with disabilities or something.
Yeah.
Yes, whether if you can walk, it's not so much about, it could be a physical disability, mental or emotional disability. There's just so many different disabilities out there, and a lot of people take that as kind of a way to not want to hire someone.
But some people take it for granted. I'm
Yeah.
Yes.
serious.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Then you have,
But then some people don't want to adhere to the rules that require them to meet certain I'm going to say requirements so people with disabilities can be employed.
Yeah, they don't want to
Sometimes
make.
you may need, say, a certain equipment to do your job, like a certain type of computer you may need, or you may need a door with a certain handle, and you definitely have to have the bathrooms to meet
To
a
access.
wheelchair, right?
To
There has to be a
access.
certain width. You have to be able to access.
Yes.
So, right. So sometimes employers, like Mary was saying, don't want to meet the requirements, but by law, they're required to do to have certain things.
Yeah.
Certain sinks if you're in a wheelchair, certain handles or no handles, and doors may have to open automatically. So yeah, there's certain things that might be a barrier for not hiring someone with a disability.
Yep. Because I know, I know when I'm at work, I usually, when I go to the restroom, I usually use the paper towel to open the door. I never use my hands because I don't know where other people's hands been.
Right, right. It's think about it. When you got your job, you needed to have a what in order to start your job? A what?
Job coach.
A job coach. And think about people that we know that's having problem with job coaches, and they can't go to work because if that job coach is not there,
Then
then
they
that
won't be able to do the job.
yeah, they can't. They won't let them come. The employee won't let them come with employee won't let them come without their what job coach.
Yep.
Because that's a part of the requirement that the person is able to do their job. They have to have that support person there. So that can be a problem for someone, and we know people that's experiencing that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I didn't experience that.
You were lucky you had a good support system.
it is.
Mrs. Smith.
And then even with
remember
some
him.
employers, for you to be able to speak up about, say, as we get older, sometimes, our abilities change as we get older. So, instead of being able to get on the floor and, clean, say, a baseboard, we might need to ask them to purchase. I've seen this the other day. I was actually tempted to purchase it. But it was a
What was
little stick that had like a pad on it that you could
Oh.
clean the baseboards with. So
Mm.
even as we age, things change, and we have to be able to speak up about it. So Ryan, you have a job. So when has anything ever come up at your employer that you've had to ask for something to help you do your job? Of course, Ryan's the man, so he's gonna be like, I got this.
Okay. When you were sweeping, you had a broom, but you didn't have a what?
Yo, I had a broom, but I didn't have no dustpan.
So did you have to speak up for that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What about the day I was up there and staff asked if you pulled the trash And what did you tell them? The trash was what?
I told them the trash were too heavy.
And what did the employees say? They were going to get what?
Somebody else.
Right. But if you didn't speak up for yourself, what would have happened? They would have tried to what? Probably what?
What?
Make you what?
Make me pull that trash.
What? And you could have what?
Hurt myself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But here's what I do when I'm working. I usually take the trash, put it in a cart. I get the car key. I unlock the cart key. I unlock the cart. I take it to the back, and then I dump the trash. But if the trash isn't too heavy, I usually take that trash and pull it out.
Okay.
And I usually put it in the dumpster.
Okay. Good. Very good.
Because I don't like when trash stinks.
And it does. It's very true. Okay. Mary said she'll be right back. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting what people, I worked once at this, just kind of a small company, and there was a guy there who was on crutches. And when I got there, he wanted a new chair. And the woman who is the human resources person says, well, I can't get you a new chair because then I have to get everybody a new chair. And I'm like, no, you have to get the guy who needs an accommodation.
Because
right. It's not about everybody, it's about him. What his
because
he didn't know what he was doing.
That's discrimination.
Yeah. So anyway, we got him a new
chair. She could have been sued by that guy.
Yeah.
Back to the trash, my friend Allison had a new coach, and when she got home, she told me that she was asked to pull trash and the trash was too heavy. And she said that the coach insisted that she pull the trash, and she kept saying she couldn't do it. And she said, I started crying, Miss King. I said, well, then you have to advocate for yourself. Then you have to tell your staff, make sure you tell her what happened and how upset you got today because of not the store employee, but the coach that was supposed to be assisting her. Instead of telling her employer, she really can't do this, can somebody else help her or do it for her? But she got a new coach after that. She's got a new coach since then. But if something goes wrong for her, she lets me know. So I said, well, you really have to advocate for yourself. But that just came to my mind about that whole trash pulling. She said it was too heavy for her.
Because I remember this was before Miss Smith and Miss Shalonda. I remember when my boss put his hands on me, Matt Brown, right? I closed that room door. Everybody heard me. I told him I wouldn't work for him if he was the last person on earth. And I meant that.
Exactly. So when we think about our rights and responsibilities as humans, the first part in getting things taken care of is speaking up for ourselves or addressing the fact that there is a problem. Whether it's something like we can't bend down anymore, something's too heavy for us, feeling uncomfortable with our personal space being invaded by aggressive person on a bus. A basic human right of being able to choose who we marry or elect somebody to represent us in a government. So we have to first, figure out what the problem is and start asking for help. So when we see that there's a problem, who's the first person you turn to help you navigate or figure out how to get something resolved? Is it a family member, a friend, a coworker, a manager?
I go to when I'm at work, I go to my manager, but technically I know the job in and out, because I see some of these, I see the new people, they don't know what to do.
That's why they had you, a long timer. To help them. A long timer like you. Sometimes I know they've had new people and they've given new courtesy clerks and they have
Yes.
them work with you, right?
Yes,
Because you've been there what?
longer.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So you're in a union, so you're known as an old timer or a seniority. We
Oh
get it.
yeah, I have a lot of that.
And we should always advocate for ourselves, but also when we talk about our rights and responsibilities, does that mean that we should be advocating for silly things
What?
that are very little and aren't really necessary or have anything to do with our rights or responsibilities?
I mean, you can see, I know you can't see the little things, but they're there.
Mhm.
Yep, they're right there. And some people, they don't even know.
That's why they got people like you to help them out.
Oh, that's the middle.
Yeah, let's help them out. Yeah.
So when we think of some of those things that we just discussed, like our right to vote, our responsibility as a voter is to register ahead of time so that we can vote. So before exercising our right to vote, we have to make sure that we are prepared and registered to do so. There was, to be able to have a job, we have to come to work every day, be on time, and do our job as well as we can. So that way we can work and make money. We also have the right to use our money the way we want to, but we have a responsibility of making a budget or knowing how much money we have and how much we can spend and what type of bills we have. We also have a responsibility to learn to wait at the right bus stop. So we can't complain if we went to the bus stop to hop on one bus and it didn't take us where we wanted to go because we were at the wrong bus stop. So we have to responsibly look for the correct bus routes or metro route. Okay, so responsibility is also to talk about some more basic things like the way we behave, courtesy and consideration for others, and following rules. So just like if I were to ride the bus and I saw Jennifer sitting there, if there was empty seats, I probably wouldn't sit right next to her. And if I was in a seat right next to her, I would probably say, excuse me, and make sure I had my own personal space and paid attention to make sure she had her personal space. All right, so we talked about the first thing we do to advocate for ourselves, which is we see what the problem is, and then we reach out to someone to help us find a solution for the problem. Now, if we talk to somebody as an advocate, is it their job to solve the problem for you?
Assist.
Definitely assist. Because for a problem to be solved or fixed, we want to make sure that we're providing some information as to what we need and what we'd like to see done. So in the instance of you sweeping and not having a dustpan, I'm sure you said, well, I need something to help me get up this dirt after I'm done sweeping.
Right, talking about you, you get up those trash.
Oh.
And if I use the piece of cardboard, it doesn't get up everything I swept.
Oh.
It's gonna probably what? If you put the cardboard, it's gonna probably what? Put the trash on the cardboard, it's probably gonna what?
What?
If you try to use the cardboard to sweep up, it's probably gonna do what?
Tip over.
Probably gonna tip over, right?
Definitely. Okay, so we have about 17 minutes left. Do you want to continue our conversation or do you want to play Jeopardy?
We could continue the conversation.
Okay. So it has often been said that knowledge is power. Do you think knowledge is power?
That's true.
I think so.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. So
it allows you to, it can allow you to open doors for yourself to have knowledge, to know of the rules and the
And
regulations.
other people.
Yeah, yeah, it opens many doors because if you're not knowledgeable, you don't know how to do what?
Advocate.
Advocate and do things, right?
And if you're not knowledgeable, you can't see everything around you as well. So, like Jennifer said, now that she has a friend who is in a wheelchair, she notices how the snow is always banked up at the crosswalks or, on the sidewalks. So it's impassable to others. Or how about, oh, my biggest pet peeve, you have the handicap parking spots, and then you have that area for the people to be able to get out of handicap accessible vehicles. And there's always somebody parking over the line, crossing it. Nobody can get out.
But you know what?
That really angers me.
But and you know what? I don't know why I don't understand why some people not. I don't understand why some people park next to each other. I mean, there's a whole row.
Well, they have the park spot next to what how close they are.
Yeah,
or
how
what?
close they are.
Oh, well, how close they are. Yeah, parking is you have to park next to each other.
And maybe if they were more knowledgeable about the reasoning for these items, such as the area for people with some type of physical disability to exit the vehicle into that cross area, they wouldn't park over the line.
Or if they were respectful of the sign that says it's going to cost you $250, I think it's actually someone's going to come along and ticket them. I think that would bring a change about right. And really caring. I think it's caring too. Sometimes people says, I'm just going to run in for a minute, but that minute may turn into minutes. And someone that actually needs to park there doesn't have the space made available to them because you did not respect the sign and everything.
Well, and I just think, when you see that I can walk, that's an amazing gift. When you have someone who, can walk and then can't walk, I'm okay parking far away and walking in because I can.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need to park right up front. Let that for people who need to be closer.
Right.
And some people can be aggressive these days.
Oh, there's a lot of aggressiveness these days. Yeah. Too much aggressiveness.
Too much aggressive.
Like you said, your first thing was be kind.
Yeah.
A lot of folks are not being kind. They're being very aggressive and impatient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And rude.
Definitely. So we've been striving to have greater meaning for people with disabilities who are taking steps towards self-determination and empowerment. I mean, that's what Lifeline is about.
And another thing, some people just can't wait.
No.
They need it right then and now.
Okay.
Definitely. And I kind of actually wonder if that has to do with more of the fact that we are so technology driven now, that there's so much technology and everything's instant, that's kind of weighed on people's ability to be patient.
Well, and delivery stuff, right? It's like with Amazon, if I can't get it tomorrow, I have to wait a week. I can't believe I have to wait 3 days. We just want things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is instant now.
Yep. I remember when my package was supposed to come?
Oh, yeah.
And
DVDs.
my DVDs.
Yeah.
And it was up in Maine. I said, I can wait. There's no rush.
You had no choice.
I had no choice but to wait.
You must not have Amazon Prime.
But Aaron does.
Yeah, Aaron does, not you.
I actually had 2 Christmas presents this year that I had ordered way before, the Christmas delivery cutoff. And they didn't arrive in time. And I was just like, I can't believe this. And I was like, well, what am I fussing about? I ordered it online instead of going to the store and purchasing it myself. And I'm fussing because it didn't make it first of all, in the 2-day window. And then that it didn't come in time for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's not like
that's the frame of mind. That's the frame of mind we're in now. Instant gratification. You have to have it right now. And like you said, it's interesting when we were away and every time a question came up, the younger people immediately had the answer because they did what? Googled it.
because
Yeah, they Googled it.
because you know
It was
what?
like,
If you we're talking about instant, right?
Mhm.
what?
We're talking about instant.
Yes.
And you know
exactly.
what?
It's-
This is almost like instant oatmeal.
Oh, yeah, you make it quick.
Yeah, make it quick.
Right. But I pointed out to everybody, you notice that if there's a question, how all the younger ones in the group had the answer immediately because they did what? Well, we're still having conversation. One of them were Googling it and had the answer just like that. And I thought, boy, remember when we used to have to go to the encyclopedia? Of course, they're looking at me like, what? And then we got into the whole conversation about what is an encyclopedia.
Well, but also that we would discuss things, right? And now we get the answer. We don't discuss things in the same way, I think. There's no like, well, I think it might be this, I think it might be that. You always can know. You can know right away. Well, the other thing
You
I
can
think
know.
about is like television, right? It used to be that we would watch a show when it was on during like whatever it was, like, every Saturday everyone would watch X. And now you can watch all the shows
Yep.
whenever you
Yeah,
want
that's
to.
right. What is that called? You binge it?
Bin-
If
yeah,
you
binge
missed
watch.
it, yeah,
Binge
you
watch.
binge watching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
binge
Of
watching.
course, I don't do that.
Because if you miss a show, you can pre-record it.
That's right. And go back and you can record them all together, or they'll put them all on,
Yeah.
and you just sit for hours and do that.
And
You
I
don't have to
also
wait.
have my DVDs.
Yeah.
I actually know some people who do not watch them when they come on and binge them because they have either, TiVo or whatever recording option, and then they can fast forward through commercials. These are for people who don't have the streaming, ad-free streaming services. They literally do it just so they don't have to watch the commercials.
Yeah.
Well, we went to watch, what is this, the movie The Best Man, because they put it not on the theater, but Peacock. So my daughter has that. But what was interesting, because I thought it didn't have any commercials, when it got to have commercials, like, what? They have commercials? And I thought it was going to be the situation that it's going to be just straight through movie. And they put it into 8 chapters,
Yep.
which was like, oh my God, we have
I
to
thought-
come back to the next day or two
Yeah,
to see the
because-
rest of it.
Yeah, because it's almost like a book.
It's almost like a book. That's right. It was
No,
called chapter. They had
because-
chapters.
Yeah, it's almost like a book. Because if you think about it, I know it's 8 chapters, but it has every detail inside of it.
Yeah, it did. It did, in spite of the commercials. But I was
Yes.
surprised they had commercials. I didn't think they would, but they did.
I mean, why would you go to the movies to see The Best Man?
Well, you can't, not for the 3rd series.
Yeah, you can.
You have to do it on Peacock, and if you don't
Yeah.
have Peacock, like we don't have Peacock, we have to go somewhere else to watch it. Somebody who has Peacock, and that's how they get you. This TV is just beyond belief now. So
Well, it's
It's all
interesting.
about-
everything's a plus.
It's all about making money.
Yeah,
Nowadays.
Well, it's always been about making money though, Ryan.
I know.
We're
Well, when we
American.
started, we only had 3 channels and it went off at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
You didn't pay for it.
Not no more.
But time has progressed, and it's like everything has a plus now. So I don't know any of the new shows at all, because I don't have a plus. I don't get, it's
But
just
I mean,
interesting.
that's like one of the things you think about. It's just also, think about cell phones. Just cell phones in general.
Yep.
Now people can call you and you're expected to
Because
always be
Yeah.
available.
It's part
Do
of
you
the instant,
remember-
right back in instantaneous communication with everybody all the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
because do you remember Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? When
Oh,
they had the
gosh.
watch? Because nowadays
Yeah, the
all you have to do is speak into it.
right.
Yep.
And now I get my Wednesday class from my instructor that's moved to West Ghana.
Yep.
It's 1 o'clock there, but it's 9 o'clock here. So it's just unbelievable, like you say, with this phone.
Mhm.
It's like she's on a whole different continent and doing class.
Yeah.
So it's just really, really something how time has changed and brought along our impatience.
So maybe, having all this technology at our fingertips isn't necessarily as
That's not a bad thing.
Oh,
It's not a
bad
thing.
at all, but maybe it's made us more laxed, which more enable,
Patient.
yes, more impatient and able to take that time to understand why things take more time, maybe more of that thoughtfulness behind understanding.
And 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 it makes us communicate less with each other, because when I see young people in a group, they're not communicating with each other unless they're communicating, but everybody's got their phone out. And I'm wondering, are they talking to each other or talking to other people? But they're all in a group, but everybody's on their phone and not actually speaking to each other and interacting. Everybody's walking, and everybody's walking with their phone and on their phone. And I'm just wondering, are they texting each other or talking to each other, or other people that's not there, part of the group? So it really makes us disconnect as people.
I remember watching Clueless, right? The movie Clueless, and these two young women are both on the phone talking to each other, walking next to each other.
I remember that.
I actually recall several sleepovers when my daughter was younger, and they would be very quiet. You know, at a couple points in the evening, I check on them. Hey, how's everything going? And each one of them's like off in the room, and they're all on their phones, and they're texting and watching videos. And I remember sleepovers when I was younger, you know, it was a big group thing, you know, you were doing hairs, you were gossiping, you know, you were doing silly things like throughout the night. It was always lots of laughter. You had a parent coming saying, quiet down, everyone. And they were all like, it actually reminds me of side by side play for like toddlers, where they play side by side and they're comforted with having somebody near them, but they don't want to interact.
Yeah.
So definitely very interesting. Okay, so our next advocacy is going to be March 25th, and we're going to start talking about the American with Disabilities Act, the different sections on it, and understanding our rights under the American with Disabilities Act.
Okay.
You want me to keep it?
Yeah, the ADA is such an amazing piece of legislation.
Absolutely. And I can say for myself, you know, going through things over the past couple of years, you know, with family, personally, through my work, you know, just how all encompassing the ADA is for so many different people in so many different avenues of life. It's just super important.
Well, I think it's something we can be really proud of as a country, that we have that. You know, you go abroad, they don't have something like that.
No,
they don't look out for making things equitable for everyone. So it's really, sometimes I'm not proud to be an American, but I am when I think about the ADA.
I think that was harder and harder. But no, I mean, and that's definitely, especially with the ADA, because it doesn't have to be a long-term disability. It could be a short-term disability. So the fact that we have put something in place in 1973, I mean, so it's fairly young still to have this put into place. But to be a forefront country to look at this as, you know, our people need some support, and we recognize some struggles that our people have, and let's ensure that they receive the same rights and benefits as others. That's huge. Huge.
And it is, you think about it, and people are still struggling for certain rights, and to have things put in place for them, some things you would think that would already be in place, especially the workplace, you know, now that they have to hire or supposed to hire folks with disabilities and not really always wanting to comply to meet that individual needs. That's still kind of hard to deal with. It really, really is. You're seeing a lot of changes, an awful lot of changes, and making things accessible.
And we still dealing with discrimination.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think you have to always be vigilant, right? You can't, people are always willing, especially if it saves you money, right? I think it always comes down to money, that they don't want to spend the money on making things equitable. So you have to fight for it. But now at least there's some legislation that makes it, that you have to do it. Where before there wasn't, people had no obligation whatsoever to make things equitable.
If you think about it, we still offer tax credits to businesses to hire people with disabilities. The fact that we're still offering incentives, when I can tell you, my husband is a manager at a grocery store, and some of his best workers have been people with disabilities. And the fact that when we are advocating and helping people with disabilities become employed, that one of the benefits we have to dangle in front of them is that, hey, you get a tax credit. That's a shame.
And some of the, when you train a lot of people with disabilities, like I said, they become some of your best workers.
But again, we always comes down to discrimination. People just, if they don't understand, they don't afraid of something that they think is foreign to them, even though we're all people and we're all different, we're all weird, we're all not weird. So
yeah,
I always say there's no such thing as normal.
No.
Because there isn't. Then we would be so boring too. Could you imagine if everybody was just cookie cutter and everybody was exactly the same?
It would be boring, and everybody would be saying, "Oh, I'm bored to death," more than what the teenagers are now. The thing about it is, everybody gets to be an individual. Everybody is an individual.
But you know what? I hope with all this texting and doing all this stuff
And
technology, I hope when they get older, their fingers still work.
Yeah, but they don't have arthritis.
I know from all the
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you.
I was told I'm using the wrong finger.
But you know what? If you think about it, with all this texting that we're doing nowadays, it's almost like playing video games.
Oh, you're right.
Because you remember video games?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's almost like playing video games. Your thumbs. All we doing is using words these days.
Oh, okay. I thought about it.
I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. I think we had some great conversations.
It's great.
And a special, recognition to Kim, who provided our ASL interpretation today. So thank you, everybody. And I look forward to seeing everybody for another advocacy on March 25th. But just to let you know, on the 21st, we're going to have our winter themed arts and crafts at First Trinity. So we hope to see you there on the 21st. And then we'll have our Valentine's Day dance on February 11th. And our Sing Praise service on February 25th. So be on the lookout for your emails and communication. And I hope to see everybody there then.